A crackle of static burst through every device on Earth, cutting into broadcasts, phones, and radios. Then came a voice, low, synthetic, impossible. They're already here. Silence followed, thick and terrible. Across the globe, people stopped in their tracks. Then the world broke open. One. Sirens screamed. Screens flashed incomprehensible symbols. The sky pulsed with unnatural green light. Governments scrambled, news feeds crashed. In a dim garage in Portland, Elias Monroe, 38, ex-Special Forces now working as a mechanic, stared at his old TV as static melted into a digital ripple. The voice echoed again. "We've been waiting for you." Elias staggered back, his breath catching. It wasn't the words. It was the feeling. A memory. A battlefield, long buried. The war had returned, and it was no longer silent. Somewhere deep inside, Elias knew this wasn't a new invasion. It was a continuation. And this time, they had come specifically for him. While the world descends into confusion, Elias doesn't move. He stares into the flickering screen, barely breathing. The signal feels alive. It's not just communication, it's recognition. He hears no words, but something inside him screams. Images flash. Starships, burning cities, a child crying under rubble. Then, silence. A female voice, soft and laced with static, whispers directly into his mind. "You are not forgotten. We are coming." Elias clenches his fists. His heart races, not with fear, but with memory. He's heard that voice before, years ago, in a dying enemy's breath. His instincts return. He moves fast, throwing on a coat, yanking open a drawer. Inside, a combat knife, worn and stained. His fingers wrap around it like an old friend. Outside, distant shouting rises. A mob is forming. Elias locks the door, grabs a battered sat phone and whispers to no one. This isn't a warning. It's a trigger. Elias emerges into the cold night. Sirens howl like banshees. Cars honk as people flood the streets. In the distance, the sky pulses again. Green lightning arcs silently across the clouds. But Elias's focus narrows. A vibration in his pocket. His sat phone lights up. No caller ID. He answers. "Monroe," he says. A male voice crackles, cold and calm. "You were never off duty." Elias's grip tightens. Who is this? The voice ignores him. Unit Echo V returned. Unmarked presence confirmed. Protocol Duskfall activated. Call ends. Elias lowers the phone, heart pounding. That code meant extinction-level threat. He hadn't heard it in over a decade. Then he sees a figure across the street. A man in a dark coat, staring at him. The man's eyes flash silver. Elias steps back. Another pulse ripples through the sky. Whatever's happening, it's already begun. Elias disappears into the shadows of an alley and makes his way to a locked metal door. He punches in a 6-digit code. A beep. The door slides open into an abandoned safe house. Inside, crates of old tech, a flickering console, shelves of dust-covered weapons. He moves swiftly. Pulls a container from the floor. Inside, a device the size of a tablet, humming faintly. Alien glyphs flicker on its screen. It pings. A signal, close. Elias turns to a cracked mirror and sees his reflection. Older, heavier, scarred. "Not again," he mutters. His hand trembles, but he steadies it. From one crate, he lifts a sleek, curved rifle, part alien, part human. He slings it over his shoulder. Then, movement. A flash past the doorway. Elias drops into cover, silent. His ears tune out the world. He's a soldier again. But what's coming isn't human. Not anymore. The lights explode with a loud pop. Elias dives behind a crate. Plasma sizzles through the air, melting a steel locker beside him. He rolls, grabs the rifle, and fires into the shadows. A humanoid form charges, 8 feet tall, cloaked in black metallic armor, veins of glowing blue pulsing beneath its skin. It moves like liquid shadow. Elias fires again. The creature staggers, then launches itself forward. They collide. Elias grunts, slams his blade into a seam under its arm. Sparks fly. The creature shrieks, an unnatural, broken sound. Then it evaporates into black smoke. Elias pants on one knee, surrounded by sparks and steam. "Not a scout," he whispers. "A marker." The alien signal on the tablet glows red. Outside, the sky pulses violently. Dozens of signals now. They're here. Not to conquer, but to finish what was started. Elias drives through the city's crumbling streets, the steering wheel tight in his hands. Fires burn in trash cans. Police barricades fall apart as frightened civilians break through. Storefronts are smashed, looters dart in and out, but Elias keeps his eyes on the road. His sat phone buzzes again. Another message. Just a location and a time, no sender. He doesn't recognize the place, but something in him does. Memories flicker, faces he buried, orders he never questioned. He mutters to himself, "They never planned to let me go." Suddenly a child stumbles into the street, eyes wide, barefoot. Elias brakes hard. The girl points to the sky. A streak of green light tears silently overhead. "Are they angels?" she asks. Elias's voice cracks. "No, they're the ones we tried to forget." He looks up. The light vanishes beyond the clouds. But he knows they never left. They only waited for the right moment. And that moment was him. The location from the message leads Elias to an abandoned library on the city's edge, half collapsed from years of neglect. He moves cautiously through the shattered doors. Inside, the silence is suffocating. Dust dances in narrow beams of light from holes in the ceiling. He hears footsteps, not behind him, but above. He raises the rifle. A whisper reaches him. "You're late, Monroe." He spins. A figure steps from the shadows. Lena, 40, former intelligence officer, eyes cold with memory. "You should have stayed buried." Elias lowers the weapon slowly. "You knew this was coming." Lena nods, emotionless. "We all did, but only one of us was bred for it." Elias stares at her, wounded. "You mean used?" She doesn't deny it. She hands him a sealed file. "Your name wasn't just on their list. It was at the top." Thunder rolls outside. The past has caught up with Elias, and it's written in blood and lies. Elias tears open the file. Inside, surveillance photos, blood work, encrypted symbols, and a name he hasn't heard in years, Operation Tetherfall. He stares, unable to breathe. Lena watches him. "They mapped your DNA, Elias, before you were even born." She turns away, disgusted. "You weren't chosen to fight the war. You were designed to end it." Elias backs into a collapsed shelf. "I was just a soldier." Lena snaps, "You were the prototype." He looks at the photos. One shows him as a child, standing beside a man with glowing eyes. His father, or something that wore his father's skin. Rage and betrayal ignite inside him. "Why didn't you tell me?" Lena's voice softens, "Because you wouldn't have survived knowing." Elias grips the file, his hands trembling. The past wasn't buried. It was planted. And now, it's blooming. Outside the library, rain begins to fall. Thin at first, then heavy, cleansing nothing. Elias and Lena stand under the awning. "So what now?" Elias asks. Lena's voice is quiet. "They'll come for you. Not to kill you. To take you back." Elias looks at his hands, scarred from decades of war and work. "They think they own me." Lena hands him a drive. "This has the names. The ones who built the program. The ones still controlling it. They're not aliens, Elias. They're us." A silence lingers. Elias pockets the drive. Then, it's not just war. It's betrayal. Lena nods. Always was. A moment of thunder. Then, from down the street, a figure appears. Faceless. Tall. Wrapped in a cloak that flickers with digital camouflage. Lena steps forward. Go. I'll hold them. Elias doesn't argue. He turns and vanishes into the downpour, the burden heavier with every step. Elias finds shelter in a burned-out train depot miles from the city's edge. He wipes rain from his face, breath ragged, body sore. He plugs the drive into an old terminal and waits. Files load slowly. A map appears, lines connecting military bases, biotech labs, even government buildings. At the center, one name, Daedalus Protocol. Suddenly, the screen goes black. Then white text appears, Elias Monroe, identified. A countdown begins. 30 seconds. I am. 29. A soft hum builds around him. He grabs the drive and bolts as the terminal explodes in a silent flash. Outside, drones circle overhead. He dives behind wreckage. The hum grows louder. Not surveillance drones. Hunters. For the first time since the war, Elias feels small, vulnerable, alone. But he grits his teeth. He's not just running. He is remembering. And memory is a weapon. One he's about to use. Elias pushes deeper into the mountains, guided only by fragmented coordinates and instinct. An old surveillance outpost sits camouflaged in the cliffs, abandoned on paper, but still humming with power. Inside, the air is stale, the walls lined with outdated tech and faded insignias. He boots up the main terminal, using Lena's drive. Surveillance footage loads, encrypted files showing meetings, covert exchanges between military brass and cloaked figures. One frame freezes. Elias. A general he served under, shaking hands with a hybrid being. Elias whispers they knew. They all knew. A hidden speaker crackles to life. You shouldn't have come here, Elias. He raises his weapon. The voice continues, you were never the hero, just a tool. Behind him, a door opens. Elias turns, rifle ready, eyes burning. Whoever steps through now isn't just an enemy. They're the architects of betrayal. From the shadows emerges Commander Voss, 50s, stern-faced, dressed in civilian black. Once Elias's mentor. Voss steps forward with calm authority. I told them you'd find this place. You always were too curious. Elias's voice cuts like glass. How long? Voss's face hardens. Since before your first deployment. Elias's heart pounds. Voss continues, the war wasn't lost, Elias. It was absorbed. Deals were made. Humanity's survival required sacrifice. Elias snaps, you sold us out. Voss shakes his head. We evolve. In a blur, Elias lunges, slams him against the console. Sparks fly. You used me, Elias growls. Voss replies coldly, you were built for this, you just didn't want to accept it. Elias lets go. The truth isn't just betrayal. It's design. Everything he believed, his choices, his war. It was all written before he drew his first breath. Elias stares at the maps flickering on the screens, overlapping Earth's key infrastructure with alien distribution points. This isn't just infiltration, he mutters. It's integration. Voss straightens his jacket. The aliens never planned to conquer. They needed a partner. One willing to erase the old world and shape the new. Elias shakes his head. That's not survival. That's extinction. Voss counters, it's the future. Elias backs away, disgusted. You helped them rewrite our history. Voss doesn't flinch. We helped them stabilize it. Elias turns to leave. Then I'll be the variable you forgot to control. Voss says nothing. As Elias disappears into the corridor, the terminal begins erasing itself. Elias doesn't stop it. The truth is already burned into him. He doesn't need evidence. He needs vengeance. In the dead of night, Elias crosses an abandoned railway bridge. The wind howls. His breath clouds. The only sound, his boots on old steel. Halfway across, a voice calls out, "You always walked away too early." Elias freezes. A figure steps out from the shadows. Marin, 35, ex-teammate, one of the few he ever trusted. "I buried you," Elias whispers. Marin smiles, sad and cold. "They pulled me back, like they did you." Elias grips his rifle. "You working for them?" Marin nods once. "We all are. Some just don't know it yet." Elias's voice hardens. "Then why warn me?" Marin's face flickers, pain and loyalty battling. "Because I remember who you were. And I remember who I was. Before the upgrades." They stand facing each other. Rain starts falling. And one of them won't be walking off this bridge. The gunfire is quick and brutal. They move like predators, honed by years of combat and augmentation. Sparks fly as rounds hit steel beams. Marin lands a blow to Elias's ribs, cracking one. Elias retaliates, slamming Marin into a support pillar. "You chose this," Elias snarls. Marin bleeds from the mouth. "No, I survived it." They fight not just as enemies but as brothers torn by ideology. Marin's knife grazes Elias's throat, but Elias counters with a swift reversal, pinning him. "You could have warned me years ago." Marin's eyes dim. "Would you have listened?" Elias drives the hilt of his blade into Marin's temple. The man slumps, unconscious or dead. Elias staggers back, soaked in rain and regret. Thunder rolls above. He looks down at Marin's body. "We were never free," he whispers. He walks off the bridge into the night, no longer running, now hunting. Elias reaches the outer edge of a derelict research facility deep in the Arctic tundra, once blacklisted by global treaties, now humming with faint residual power. He steps inside. The halls are glass and frost. Screens long dead flicker to life as he passes, recognizing him. In the deepest chamber, a hologram activates. A female voice speaks, soothing, artificial. "Welcome, Elias Monroe," sequence confirmed. The lights reveal a chamber of cryopods, most shattered, one intact. Inside, an alien humanoid, its features similar to Elias's. The voice continues, "Project Echo Origin. Human-alien genomic merge. Initiated 39 years ago. Host, Elias Monroe." He stares at the pod, breath short. "What am I?" The system responds flatly. "You are both. The outcome, the legacy. You were never born. You were deployed." The truth slams into him like gunfire. Elias isn't just part of the war. He is its origin point. The voice continues, now shifting tone, less mechanical, almost maternal. "You were created to be the bridge. The bloodline engineered from the last peace accord between worlds." Elias shakes his head, stepping away. "This is a lie," the AI says gently. "Then why do you remember things no one told you?" Elias's memories crash forward. Visions of planets he's never visited. A language he never learned yet understands. A father who never aged. On the far wall, a screen shows a timeline, a convergence of genetic experiments and war protocols, ending with his name. "You were meant to guide us," the voice says. Elias stares at the alien in the pod. "Wait. And if I refuse?" The AI pauses. Then the conflict resets, and humanity ends. Silence fills the room. Elias turns away. The war never needed his consent. Only his existence. Alarms suddenly blare across the facility. The cryopod begins to open with a hiss. Elias backs away as the figure inside stirs. It opens its eyes, identical to his own. The AI speaks once more. "Sequence complete. Genetic match verified. Phase 2 authorized." The being steps forward. No hostility, only curiosity. Elias raises his weapon, unsure. The being tilts its head, then speaks in perfect English. Brother. The word drops like a stone in Elias's chest. You were the first, it continues. I was the second, failed, preserved, but you succeeded. Elias lowers the rifle slightly. Why now? The being replies, because the war was never against us, it was between them, and you're the proof one side couldn't allow to live. A rumble shakes the ceiling. They've been found. Elias now sees clearly. He isn't alone. And never was. Elias and the being, Kale, move through collapsing corridors as tremors increase. Outside, black dropships descend through the blizzard. Elias yells over the storm, "You said I was the proof." Of what? Kale replies, that peace was possible, that the bloodlines could merge, that trust could evolve. Gunfire erupts in the distance. But someone didn't want that, Elias mutters. Kale nods. The humans and aliens who profit from war. They buried the project. They hunted us. Elias stops behind a wall, breathing hard. Why keep me alive? Kale looks him in the eyes. Because someone inside the system loved you. Enough to hide you. A beat. Elias lowers his head. My mother. Kale only nods. That name was erased from all records. But he remembers her face. He remembers her singing. And now he remembers her silence. Her final sacrifice. They reach a cliffside helipad, long dormant, where Lena's encrypted signal flashes on an old beacon. A sleek unregistered aircraft descends, its engines almost silent. As the ramp lowers, Kale turns to Elias. There are others, like us. Hidden. Discarded. Elias replies, then we find them. He turns toward the dropships closing in. But first, we burn their lies. Kale looks toward the rising smoke. Together? Elias nods once. They board. Inside, Lena waits, bruised but alive. I see you found your twin, she says dryly. Elias sits, exhausted but clear-eyed. No more hiding. No more waiting. As the aircraft lifts, fire rains down on the collapsing facility. In the clouds, a new broadcast signal begins. Elias's voice, we were never alone, we were made, and now we remember. Across the world, screens flicker to life, and the truth begins to spread. The aircraft cuts through dark storm clouds over northern Europe, silent and fast. Inside, Elias studies the encrypted data Lena decrypted, facility coordinates, names of collaborators, and codenames. One jumps out. Shepard. Kale stiffens. That's not a codename. That's a designation. Handler of hybrid prototypes. Elias looks to Lena. Her face is pale. It's Voss, she says. He didn't just supervise the program, he ran it. Elias feels the betrayal burn again, deeper. He raised me like a weapon, then tried to break me when I broke pattern. Kale leans in. He's preparing activation of the next phase, the full merge. Elias mutters, mass integration. Lena adds, a full override of human autonomy. One signal, one hive. The ship begins descent. Elias tightens his grip on the rail. Then we don't just stop it. We expose it. For the first time, Elias isn't alone. But trust? That still feels fragile. The ship lands near an isolated high-tech tower buried in a mountain valley, once a satellite uplink station, now repurposed into a neural command hub. Elias, Kale, and Lena infiltrate through an underground service tunnel. Walls buzz faintly, with alien energy. They find the main chamber, holographic maps and suspended neural pods filled with unconscious humans. Kale pauses, horror on his face. They've already started. These are test hosts. Lena checks the interface. Their minds are being rewritten, layered with foreign consciousness. Elias turns to her. And this is just the trial run. She nods grimly. The global override pulse is in pre-launch. Kale adds, once it goes live, individual will ceases. One voice. Their voice. Elias stares at the pods, seeing echoes of himself. Then we shut this down, permanently. But from above, something watches. Voss knew they were coming. An alarm shatters the silence. Ceiling hatches open, and mechanical guards descend, sleek drones fused with flesh, half organic, half machine. He's already begun the merge, Kale says. They split, dodging energy blasts. Elias rolls behind cover, targeting command relays. Lena, the control node. She sprints to a panel, hacking furiously. Kale engages the hybrids, moving like shadow through steel. Elias opens fire, clearing a path. But then a screen lights up. Voss appears, projected in cold blue. You still think you're fighting a war, Elias. You're just delaying evolution. Elias growls, then let me delay it permanently. Sparks rain from the ceiling. Lena shouts, we're in, but the node's wired to his biometrics. Only he can stop the launch. Elias stares up at Voss's projection. Then I bring him here. Not to argue, but to end this. They storm the upper tower. Every level is another test, a psychological assault of past images, memories Elias never lived but somehow remembers. Voss's voice whispers through speakers, you were made to obey. Stop pretending. Elias pushes forward. The doors open. Wait. Voss stands at the summit chamber, calm, waiting. You should have accepted your role, he says. Elias approaches, gun drawn. You turned me into your weapon. But you forgot something. Weapons break. Kale moves beside him. He's not alone anymore. Voss sighs. You think the people will accept your truth? You're not their savior. You're their proof of failure. Elias lowers the gun. No, I'm proof of resistance. He slams a device into the override console. You built me to serve, but I learned to choose. Voss lunges, but Lena drops him with a single shot. Cold. Precise. We were never yours, she says. With Voss neutralized, Elias activates the broadcast beacon. All over the world, encrypted signals are overridden. Screens light up in homes, bunkers, and military centers. Faces turn. Why? Voices pause. Elias speaks, his voice calm but fierce. We were lied to. Not invaded, but programmed. I am not the future they designed. I am what broke their design. Lena routes the transmission globally. Kale nods, emotion rare in his alien eyes. You've just declared war on the architects. Elias replies, no, on their system. The tower shakes. An emergency failsafe begins countdown. Wall. Kale activates the evac ship. Elias watches the screens as truth floods the world. His face, the face of the prototype, exposed to all. They'll fear you, Lena says. Elias nods. Then they'll finally understand me. Outside, storm clouds split and light returns. Not peace, but clarity. The tower falls behind them in fire and rubble as the evac ship blasts through the storm. Inside, Elias leans over the console, breathing heavily, watching global alerts flash across the screen. Riots, awakenings, system crashes. The signal worked, Lena says. Too well. Nations demand answers. Secret bunkers activate. Warlords and politicians alike scramble to reframe the narrative. Kale watches silently. Elias stares at a pulsing icon. Arc 0, the final control node, hidden in Earth's orbit, capable of rewriting the entire neural grid. They knew this might happen, he mutters. The override was always their backup. Kale turns. It needs a key. Biometric. You. Lena shakes her head. If you plug into that system, you won't come back out the same. Elias closes his eyes. Maybe not at all. Outside the viewport, stars stretch across the void. His legacy wasn't just about who he was. It's about what he's willing to become. They approach Arc Zero, a derelict-looking satellite, the size of a city block. Rusted plates, alien carvings, and pulsing veins of light make it look more alive than machine. They dock manually. The interior is a cathedral of circuitry. Walls pulse like organs. The floor glows beneath their feet. Elias walks slowly, every step echoing. The core pulses ahead, a throne-like seat surrounded by coiling wires and neural tendrils. "This thing was never meant for humans," Lena whispers. Kale replies, "That's why they needed Elias." As they enter the chamber, Elias pauses. The system begins to react, lights sharpening, signals awakening. He touches the core. A low hum vibrates through his bones. He hears voices, not from outside, but within. Past versions. Imprinted identities. Ghosts of the code. "It's calling you," Kale says softly. Elias breathes in. "No, it's remembering me." He steps toward the chair. This is what he was built for. Elias sits. The system instantly pierces him. Veins glow. Muscles seize and tighten. His memories fracture, relived in reverse. Warzone state child. Addictorium comata word. First kills. His mother's lullaby. Kale's face. Voss's betrayal. The sky itself. All of it floods back, rewritten in alien syntax. Ditoined. Lena screams, trying to pull him out, but the system has him now. He's not screaming. He's speaking. Voices in every language erupt from his mouth. Past prototypes, merged consciousness, all woven into his mind. He's bridging, Kale says. The system is testing his will. Inside, Elias sees the choice: take control of the override and erase all embedded programming across Earth. But at a cost. His body won't survive. His identity will dissolve into the signal. He reaches for the override sequence. His last thought isn't about fear. It's about freedom for others. Not himself. The war will end with no victor. Just choice. He presses his hand down. While outside, Earth goes silent for 7 seconds. No broadcasts. No satellites. No control. Then, a new signal. Not domination. Not obedience. Just presence. Humanity breathes again. Systems reboot without neural influence. The grid is free. In Arc Zero, the lights dim. Elias slumps in the chair still. Kale rushes to his side, scanning. No vitals. But his eyes remain open, lit faintly. Not dead. Transcended. Lena drops to her knees. He did it, she whispers. Kale lowers his head. He became the firewall. The system locked behind him, no longer weaponized, only observed. A monument. A warning. And a memory. Kale stands and looks out at Earth through the viewport. He made the choice none of us could. Lena stands beside him, face streaked with tears. Then we make sure the world knows what he chose. Behind them the throne flickers once, Elias's silhouette imprinted in light. Back on Earth, the sky is clear for the first time in months. Broadcasts resume, but not from the old systems. A new feed, encrypted but open, shares Elias's last thoughts. A simple message: you are free. Decide what you become. Across the world, people wake up differently. Freed from hidden manipulation, they face themselves honestly, for better or worse. In hidden bunkers, former commanders destroy files. Others vanish. Kale and Lena watch from a remote outpost, silent. Lena finally speaks. What now? Kale looks skyward. He left us with a question, not an answer. Lena nods. Then we answer it. As they walk into the rising dawn, something shimmers across the sky. An aurora, faint but unnatural. Not a threat. A remnant. The last trace of Elias's signal. In the silence, one truth lingers. No hero survives intact. But some become the light they leave behind. Weeks pass. The world doesn't burn, but it doesn't heal cleanly either. Cities rebuild in fragments. Power structures realign. But most of all, people begin asking questions, loudly. Who was controlling them? How long? Why? The truth Elias exposed refuses to be buried again. Across networks, he becomes both symbol and myth. Statues are painted, torn down, then repainted by those who call him the firewall. Lena watches news feeds from a silent rooftop, Kale beside her. He gave them back their voices, she says. Kale replies, and now they're finally using them. She nods. But they don't know what's coming. Kale stares into the night sky. That's why we stay ready. A distant pulse moves across the stars. A signal. Not hostile. Not urgent. Just watching. The quiet between storms. Lena whispers, we're still being measured. In a secret underground archive, agents of a collapsing regime gather in desperation. One holds a document marked Operation Continuum. Another unseals a container. Inside, fragments of Elias's DNA preserved in cryogenic suspension. If one asset worked, the leader says, imagine what a fleet could do. His voice is calm, calculated. The architecture wasn't flawed. It just chose freedom. This time, we build obedience into the seed. Elsewhere, an encrypted broadcast intercepts their feed. Elias's voice, distorted, but alive. If you rebuild the lie, I'll return in truth. The feed dies. Silence floods the room. The leader simply says, then we'll bury the truth deeper. In the shadows, progress is never defeated. It just mutates. And while the world recovers above, below, the next cycle quietly begins. Kale walks alone through a refugee outpost near the Arctic Circle, once a battlefield, now a place of rebirth. Children run between shelters built from reclaimed tech. Survivors gather around fire pits, sharing stories. A child draws in the dirt. Two figures standing back to back, one human, one alien. Kale kneels beside her. Who are they? She smiles. They're us. Not who we were, who we can be. He watches her run off and gazes at the drawing. For all the horrors he's seen, this small moment, a simple line in the dust, feels like the first true victory. Nearby, Lena watches silently. She doesn't speak. She doesn't have to. They both understand, victory isn't a roar. It's a whisper that keeps going. A slow, stubborn pulse of hope. In this silence, Elias's sacrifice continues to echo, not as a warning, but as an invitation. Somewhere far from Earth, a black monolith drifts silently in space. No engines. No markings. Just presence. Inside, lights pulse faintly, reacting. A small flicker of energy ignites within its core. A voice, unmistakably Elias, whispers, I'm still here. What remained of him after Arc Zero was not consciousness as humans know it, but something different. Integrated. Aware. The system didn't consume him. It evolved around him. The firewall became sentient. Not to dominate, but to observe. To guard. To remember. And now, it stirs. A nearby vessel, alien, unknown, approaches. The monolith doesn't react violently, just opens its eyes. Two white, expressionless orbs of light appear on its surface. The Elias within isn't alive, but he isn't gone. In the deep silence of space, the story isn't finished. It's being archived by the only one who remembers it all. Back on Earth, Lena walks alone through a restored city square. A statue now stands in the center, not of Elias in battle gear, but simply him as he was. Human. Y. A plaque reads, "The truth has a price." Children climb on its base. Adults pause and nod. Some ignore it. Lena smiles faintly. That's the point. Elias didn't die for worship. He died for choice. As she turns to leave, a young woman stops her. Did you know him? Lena nods once. I did. The woman looks at the statue. Was he real? Lena answers, real enough to change everything. The sun sets. The camera pulls back. The city fades into horizon. And in the distance, deep in space, another signal begins to pulse. Quiet. Dew. Ominous. Endless. A reminder that truth doesn't end the story. It begins the next one.